Hello and welcome back. We are each other's soulmates. We are here for season 1, episode 4. This one is titled Valley of the 20 something boys. Is it boys? Guys.
Guys.
Valley of the 20 something guys. This is what we're going to be working with today. Again, we are each other's soulmate. We are two broads talking about our 4 favorite broads in New York City. We are a Sex and the City broadcast. So before we wanted to get into the episode today, I don't know if we actually ever really disclosed this before. We have said that we have been friends for about 15 years, but it's because we met in high school. So Christina and I met freshman year of high school. We were friends ever since then. And just recently, this past weekend, her and I went to our 10-year high school reunion.
10 years.
10 years. 10 years have gone by since we graduated high school. We were the class of 2014, so it's obviously 2024. So it's pretty crazy how 10 years just kind of flew by. But yeah, we went through that experience, and probably the coolest part, aside from seeing everyone and getting to talk to everyone and catching up, is that I honestly think every single person that came up to each of us, one of the first things out of their mouth was like, I saw the podcast, or I saw that you were doing it. I mean, I was truly shocked. I was
like, that is amazing. Thanks so much.
Yeah,
it
was very
support.
Yeah, it was very touching. It was very cool. And her and I were discussing that the school we went to was very small. Our graduating class was under 200, so we were very tight knit. Despite whatever was going on in high school and stuff, I feel like our high school was very supportive of our other classmates, kind of regardless of if you even really knew each other a whole lot. We were always kind of instinctively cheering each other on, especially, in the past 10 years, we were very supportive of each other's, accomplishments, even if we hadn't spoken since graduation, or before that. So it was just really, really cool, hearing that. It was, so touching, so awesome. So if you are listening from the reunion, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's really cool. We hope to keep putting out this, this podcast and keep it going. And I think it actually really helped encourage us to keep going too. So it was very nice to have that support. And, everyone's like, well, pull it up. If they weren't following, they're like, give me the link, let me follow it. So just super, super, super cool. So thank you so much to the class of 2014. We hope to not disappoint you guys. So, but again, thank you for the support and everything. And anything else you want to say about that?
No, I was so happy to see everybody. Y'all all look so good.
Yeah.
It was honestly really good, and we're looking forward to seeing y'all again this fall. So
yeah, if we definitely do that event in the fall. Yeah. So I definitely, especially if you didn't come to this first one, please come to the next one. It would be awesome to have as many people as possible, So anyway, that's our little soapbox for that. We had to give a shout out to everyone. It was super awesome. So again, thank you. So with that, let's get into episode 4. If Christina, you want to lead us into the episode, let's go.
Sure. So this episode, we kind of start, well, again, it's called Valley of the 20-something guys, but we start with Carrie and Big, as usual, and it's this scenario where they keep on running into each other. So they call it dating by accident. It's all of these random circumstances over and over and over where he's getting out of a cab, she's getting into the cab, they ran into each other at a funeral, obviously places where they're not planning on seeing each other, and then they decide to go on a date on purpose. And that kind of is where the first scene is set for the episode. And then we kind of do a flip, and we go to Samantha's hot new restaurant that her PR firm is hosting.
Yes. Before that, I just want to add one quick thing.
Oh, did I miss something?
So, No, I mean, well, yes and no. So where they go on that date on purpose, Carrie and Big.
Yeah.
They have it at a Brisk, which I thought was interesting. Um, I don't know if that's a New York thing, if for that to be a popular date night, but I guess so. Do you know what a Brisk is? Did you like notice that in the episode?
Isn't that the funeral thing?
No, a Brisk is not a funeral. A Brisk is typically a Jewish boy having a circumcision done and like
I
having
did not catch that.
having Yes, that's what that is. So
What?
having that as like your first like official date, I just thought was interesting. So I don't know if anyone
Oh,
who's in that culture or religion, like if that's a normal like hey date night, like hey let me meet you at the next
you let us
brisk.
know.
So I think that'd be fast. I mean, I think it's cool regardless. I
Yeah.
just thought that was funny. That little like kind of like religious note and I was like cool, but
I did not catch that.
yeah, so that's what their little thing was.
Yeah.
Oh, and then also another side note too. We didn't mention it last episode, but Mr. Big was not in the episode prior. So this is one of
Oh
the
yeah.
episodes where we don't see him or he isn't even mentioned at all in the first one. So we go right back into episode 4 with them right into it. So here's Carrie and Big storyline being pushed. So, but yeah, with that, then we're going to the party that Samantha's PR firm is hosting. So
Yeah, when they get there, they're all like, okay, Samantha is there with her date. We pan over to the hot new restaurant, and Samantha's PR firm is running the restaurant, is running the event. And you'll notice that a lot. A lot of these big events that they go to, Samantha's PR firm is in charge of it. That's how they get on the guest list, you know.
duh.
And we're introduced to Charlotte's new boyfriend, who is considered perfect because he has her big three, and her big
I
three
love
are
this.
looks, manners, and money. And honestly, for all the Charlottes out there, good for you, girl. Never settle. Get what you want, and don't settle for less. But then we pan
So
over. Oh, go ahead.
out of curiosity first,
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what your big 3 are.
Ooh. Okay. So my big three. My first one is passion. They need to be passionate about something, and that doesn't typically matter to me, like what it is. I just like passion. Two, I like empathy. I like not having to explain feelings to a grown man. It's really refreshing.
Yeah, I
And
can see that.
then I guess my last one would be like wanderlust, like
Okay.
curiosity, kind of
I
like
think you
that.
being a Sagittarius,
Yeah,
that makes
definitely.
that makes a lot of sense.
I need somebody who can be my adventure buddy, you know.
Absolutely.
So, how
Absolutely.
about you?
So speaking of astrology, I kind of put it in the whole hearing it kind of coined as a big 3. I was like, oh, I thought of it like as far as a birth chart goes. So I wrote down that my big 3 are for them to be an employed sun, an independent moon, and a sense of humor rising.
Hot.
Those
Hey,
are my big things, honestly, for sure. Like being independent is a big thing for me. Like having your own place, having paying your own bills, that's a big thing. But a big thing for me is sense of humor and actually intelligence is probably my biggest turn on for sure
so
is if you're smart.
independent, sense of humor, and what was the last
So
one?
I put technically it was employed, independent, and sense of humor,
Not,
but I feel like sense of humor and intelligence for me goes hand in
oh,
hand.
yeah,
Like I need comedic intelligence. That's what gets me going. But I thought it was cute, like thinking of it as like a big 3, like in
yeah.
astrology. So, but yeah, I thought it was cute that Charlotte kind of had that like these
These,
are my
those
big
were big, and
yeah
we would love to hear you guys's or y'all's guys's, however you say that. We would love to hear your big three. And
yeah for
let us
sure
know
in
and
the comments
message us
big 3
what your big three are so we can post them on Instagram and whatnot. We would love
yeah
to.
I would
Um,
love that.
all right. Now, back from the big three, we pan over to Carrie on the phone. Well, first of all, she's using a payphone. Can we talk about that?
Oh,
She's using a
yes.
payphone at
It's
the bar.
so it's
It's
so charming. It's so charming. I wish. Do you know that there was actually a local bar here that had one? I don't know if it's still there. I don't think it runs at all, but it's been a prop and a local bar here in San Antonio. And well, oops, that's where we're from. Anyway, I think we'll be all right.
I'm like, have we not mentioned that yet?
We have not mentioned, but we're
We
I
are
know
210 girls.
we're 210 girls. But regardless, there's a payphone there, and like every time I've gone to that place, I'm like, I want to pick it up and use it, and then I don't want to look like a weirdo. But anyway, I thought that was cool because you don't see them anymore. No,
No,
they were gone, right?
it's one of
They
those.
took them all away. So
Yeah, it's one of those things in the show that I really love is like all those little.
yeah,
But yeah, no, we have Carrie and Miranda listening and re-listening to the message that Big left Carrie. And she's literally asking Miranda to listen to the message to be like, is he into me? Was this supposed to be a date? Because apparently they had talked about meeting at that club that night, but
right.
he like cancels, but she's not even sure if he canceled. Just really bad communication right now between them. Like it just,
Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely like a sense of like she was very insecure in that conversation
yeah,
or what's going on.
like
I think she actually like in quotes mentions like I think it's silly that I'm asking my friend if he's a little bit into me or
yeah.
something like, "Oh,
She
I'm having to ask my."
she's like 32
Huh?
now. Like,
Right. So I think we figured out the girls are 32 or 33. I think Miranda's 33
yeah.
in the first season and Samantha's 40. So we kind of got an age group. Like I googled it, but apparently that's what it is. But yeah, this is a 32-year-old woman still having. But to be fair, you do ask your girlfriends regardless of what age you are, does he like me? You know, does this look
Not
good?
that, and it's not even like she's too old to be doing this. It's more of like she would usually know by now. So if she doesn't know by
Yeah.
this really is like what's going on. And even Miranda says, I finished first in my litigation class and I don't know. So that should tell you
I
something
love that.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
She just
Exactly.
bullshit. Like she would tell her, like, no, girl, like it's not
Yeah.
that.
Our cynical queen over there would be
Yeah.
like, Carrie, what's wrong with you?
But then we pan over and we meet Samantha and her new dude for this episode, Mr. John. No last
John with Jon.
J-O-N.
No,
He doesn't need a last name because his food is that good. And actually, he's the hot young chef that this entire opening is about. And Samantha's
right.
just, like making out with him on the couch. And that's how we get introduced to Sam, which is Carrie's kind of other dude for
It's John's friend.
and who is John's friend. Yeah. And Sam goes to go get them some drinks. And I love this line. She says that 20-something guys always know the really important B-list people. They know the bouncers, they know the busters, they know the bartenders, all of those guys.
Real quick with that, I love how that was on like pace with the big three again. Just a cute, I don't know if that was a little like writing thing, but we went just from a big three to like another three, you know, the whole busboy, bouncer, bartender. I just thought it was clever that they kind of like kept that like theme of threes going.
Yeah.
So at least in like this part of the episode. So
I love that. And then Skipper comes in and
our lovely Skipper.
they kind of just like, the guys just look at each other. They're like, hey. They're like, they liked each other immediately. I'm like, okay.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Anyways, next scene, we have Carrie poking into Sam's tongue because he has a tongue ring.
He's like, hey, you want to see something?
And she's like,
and
whoa.
She's like, what's going on?
Yeah, and so while she's like into this guy's tongue, that's when Mr. Big walks up and it's just like
he's like pops his head in. Yeah, he doesn't. He's not just like, hey, Carrie. He pops his head in his mouth. He's all like, what's going on in there? I want to see too.
And so he does that, and then he is very much in this impression that like he told her he was gonna come for like an hour, but she didn't get that message, and she's like, okay, well, like you're here, let's hang out. And he's like, well, I spent 20 minutes looking for you, 30 minutes trying to get into this place, so I'm out of time. Later. I kind of think that was
Later.
because he found her the way he did, but
I think so too. I feel, well, I don't know, because if he left the whole like I can see you for an hour, he maybe had other arrangements or like other, you know, what's it called? Prior arrangements. Why can't I think of that word right now? Whatever. Um, maybe he had something else going on after and he really did have to go, I guess, but who knows?
who knows?
Who knows with
It's
Mr. Big? Never
yeah.
He's supposed to be inconspicuous like all the time, apparently. So on brand for him.
And then, while they're at the bar, we do kind of do this overview too of different types of 20-something-year-old guys, which I liked. It was the groovy guy versus the corporate guy versus the jock guy versus the underage guy. I thought it was neat.
Oh, when they do their interviews?
No,
Is
it
that
was
what-
back when they were still at the bar. So she was kind of like,
Oh, do they talk? I didn't even notice
yeah,
that.
they talk about the different types of 20-something-year-old guys, and they go
Okay.
through the bar and they like point them out. So like they have different dudes and different like I would say like aesthetics. So like it's like all
Okay.
the different
Yeah.
aesthetics. But I thought it was cool because it's like these are the aesthetics that were present back in like what like '98 when this came out.
Right.
And something I do appreciate is like nowadays I feel like aesthetics are just like a spectrum. You can be literally
Oh yeah.
and it just goes. But back then I feel like it was a little bit more like cut and dry. So I thought that was
I
cool.
did think one little thing too I did like is when Miranda and Carrie were talking, Skipper's there and she's like, I think he went to go get his drinks. So he comes back with two rum and cokes. Two rum and cokes, and Miranda's like, I hate rum and I hate coke. And she's just mortified and he's just standing there like double wielding like
Okay.
well, shit. But then Sam comes on a platter. He's like, 2 martinis, and they're like, "Oh my god, thank you!"
Yeah. Oh, I do remember that.
And then he mentions, he's like, "Oh, I used to work at TGI Fridays," and I thought that was super cute. Not only because that was my first job ever,
Like,
I worked at TGI Fridays as a hostess, but I just thought it was so funny seeing the duality of like Skipper just being like, "Here, I thought you might like this," like and then Sam coming saying, "Oh, like these are sophisticated 30-year-old women. Here are 2 martinis because I know that's what you would want to drink."
You also just reminded me that Skipper literally told her, I went to go get martinis, but they said they were out. And then Sam comes with those martinis.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
Last time that I watched
didn't even notice that. I thought he was just being like an inconsiderate prick or something. Dude,
No,
that's so funny.
He tried to get her the right drink.
Oh, he tried. Okay. Of course.
Know.
I'm sorry, Skipper.
That's usually my drink when I go to the bar, but
a rum and coke?
Yeah.
No, you usually do whiskey coke.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
You usually do like Jack and Coke.
Well, it depends. Like, but yeah. Whiskey Coke, rum and Coke. I like Coke. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like.
I used to too.
Oh, yeah. Anyways. So we, next scene, we go, it's the next morning, and Carrie wakes up to a phone call. And I felt Carrie in this moment personally. I feel like I have been Carrie in this scene so many times. But she answers the phone as she's just like waking up. And she's like, what, hello? And she's like, I am so fucked. And she's like, what's going on? Are you okay? And she's like, no. And it's Samantha. She's like, I am just so fucked in every which way. And she said,
I feel like that's definitely a common conversation that you and I have had.
Oh, yeah. And I love it.
It's like, I say something so dramatic, and she's like, what do you mean? Are you okay? And I was like, yeah, no, I'm talking about what happened last night.
And then,
oh, God.
So in this scene, I literally caught something I'd never caught before. So Samantha starts talking about all the which ways that they had sex, and she's like
all the positions.
All the positions, because they had sex all night. She never went to sleep. She just stayed up all night. And she literally pegged him. Oh my gosh, I caught that because like she was like saying like on her back, on her side, and then Carrie makes a joke. She's like on his side, and then they pan to a scene where he's in front and she's behind, and
Mm-hmm.
she lifts, and he goes,
He makes a face.
and he.
I mean,
I loved that. More power to
I didn't
her.
catch that either. She mentioned it to me. So when I
Yeah.
rewatched it, I looked for it and I was like,
Oh
she's
yeah.
damn right. Look at that.
When I rewatched
But
that, I immediately was like, "Hello."
it's just funny too because knowing like obviously now we're starting to see Samantha's character. She is obviously insanely sex positive. We've mentioned that before, but you really do get to see how much she really is for the time. Like she's
Yeah.
very open and honest and not like prideful, but just like, oh, absolutely, it's fabulous. Like,
Yeah.
do it yourself.
And she
You
even
know, she's
said
very
they're up for anything. These 20 somethings are up for anything just like she is, you know?
hell yeah.
And
Hell
that's
yeah. You know, like
so girl.
hell yeah. Like let's just it's she's very much like if it feels good, why not? You know, if it's not
Yeah.
hurting anyone, why not? And
Yeah.
that's you know, that's Sam's kind of whole outlook on everything. And we just every episode we see her blossom more and more into Samantha Jones's beloved character. And we talk about her a lot, but I mean she's so iconic. We love her so much. But yeah, so she's sitting there talking about her lovely night.
Yeah.
And
And then
she asked Carrie, hey, what did you do? She's like, we just kissed. She's like, for hours? And she's like, for hours. But let's side note, I can't remember the last time I've ever done that. We're just kissing.
For
Just kissing or like just like soft making out or even hard making out, you know, without actually getting to like sex.
you know, and
That level of intimacy I feel like isn't very common anymore, which is unfortunate. I would like to see if there's that out there still because like how nice would that be? Like how sexy. You're like, "Oh, we just made out for hours." Even though we have the capability of having sex now that we're adults and we can do whatever we want, but like how hot is it for someone to be like, "Nah, we're just going to kiss." Like, oh, sounds so lovely. Yeah, it's like I love the anticipation of it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Love that.
And then one last thing of that scene that I want to talk about, she had his number written on her arm.
Oh, I wrote that down too.
That? Wait, because normally now you just like, here, like, you just put it on my phone.
I know, like, I used to do that too. I mean, back in the day, we would write like with a pen, like on the hand.
We're old enough that like we came up as it entered, like when we were like about teenagers or so. Mm-hmm. So like I feel like in our early adolescence, we had a taste of that right before it like, switched over. Because I remember handwritten notes and stuff before texting in class. You know?
Yeah.
Like we were in that.
No, for sure. And even if you had a phone on you, like cell phones back then were like super like you cannot have one. Like if they saw one, they were gonna take it, you know. And so like we would like write numbers and like on your hand or if your phone back in the day, at least I don't know, parents still do this, but they're like, you're leaving your phone at home, like you can't have it during school, like it's gonna distract you. At least sometimes my dad was like that, and I was like, damn it, you know. And so like you're having to write down numbers on like a paper or your hand, or especially if it was a boy, forget it being on a piece of paper because that can be tracked. You would have to shred that thing for it to be gone as evidence. But like on your hand, you can just have it here and like, you know, hold your hand and be like, I can't wash my hands before dinner. I don't know why, you know, and just trying to be sneaky with it before you can get it in your phone or like write it somewhere else, like sneakily. But that was me being a sneaky little 12, 13-year-old. Like, but anyway, it was so charming. But the only thing I didn't like, I guess, about the scene was like, it was fucking huge. It was like 3 whatever, like New York area code. It was like the full length of her arm. I was like, what? Like the hell?
Sarah Jessica Parker is a small lady, like, you know, she just
That's true.
So maybe it wasn't that crazy, it just looked like it on her, but at the same time,
I feel like that's a big marking. That's like it was like all of my tattoos. Like that's the length of it.
he was probably like claiming her. Because, I mean, she did have another guy come up to her that night being like, hey, where are you?
Well,
You know, I
that's
feel
kind
like
of
that could have been
hot.
like a claiming thing. Because you see
That's
a
kind of hot.
phone
I
number on
see
her
that.
arm, it's like, okay, like obviously,
It's like it's the equivalent of a hickey.
yeah, yeah. Or like you're wearing his sweater or something, you know?
Oh, I
Like,
miss
or
that
like
too.
takes a picture with like like where people can see that it's your place or something. Post it online.
Boy, has that been a thing.
People will try to silently stake claim on people,
It's
and
fascinating.
and, and it's almost always the same people who will not do a commitment. Am I wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I think that sometimes it's a cat and mouse like war. It's always a silent war for like a
Games.
facade. It's a game. It's a facade of this like commitment that's not really there, but it is. It's this whole like kind of situationship crap that we're dealing with now. And maybe not crap for everyone. Maybe it totally works for some people and that's totally fine. But for me, that gray area is rough, dude. That gray area is rough.
Yeah, I can't. I haven't spent much time in gray areas, but like
Mm-hmm.
time that I have spent in them was not fun. Like
It's not.
I spent a lot of time just kind of asking like why does it have to be this difficult? Like either
Yeah.
or don't.
Yeah.
But
And then, but I think it's just like a trend now, not a trend, but just like people are, I don't know if we're scared of commitment or we just don't want it, or it's just because everything's so easily accessible. You
well,
know, people are so easily accessible. Like,
but
I don't know what it is, but
also
there is a big lack of like commitment in this day and
well
age,
there's
I believe.
also a significant difference in ease into human connection, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like it's a lot harder to relate to people nowadays. And that could be because I'm in my late 20s and I'm not in school anymore and, like,
Yeah.
not in a community setting like that where, it is easier to make friends because, of that. But it just kind of feels
Yeah.
like that's like a societal thing. It's not as easy to just walk up to somebody and become friends anymore.
Well, it's kind of like with dating apps too. You know, it's like it's not a genuine, or I can't say genuine connection, but it's just not an in-person connection. And so you lose, you know, with messaging and, you know, you lose tone, you lose like all those things that you would be able to pick up on in person or like really get to like, you know, kind of interact with, you don't get over messaging. You know, it's, and so it's just, it's that whole kind of joke. It's like, okay, I just got out of a relationship and it's like, here I am having to say what my favorite color is again to
Yeah.
like 20 different people, and that's exhausting. And like the way those apps are designed, I mean, you get multiple matches and stuff. I mean, you're like, if you're talking to like 20 people, you know, that's exhausting. Keep like, that's a lot of talking, that's a lot of messaging, that's, it's a different kind of trying to build something real, if that's what your interest is. If it's not, if it's just you trying to find something, you know, physically, game on, you have,
Yeah.
you know,
It's
all these
very
multitudes of options. But if you're wanting to find something a little bit more real or a little bit more with commitment, that's, it's hard.
yeah.
It's hard for sure. So that's just the duality between then and now is so different.
It is.
So different when it comes to dating. So
It's so wild. But
yeah.
speaking of the duality of dating, the next scene that we pan out to is the difference and the relationship between men in their 20s and women in their 30s. So they
Yeah.
kind of do a half and half take and like the two different views. And they start out with the men and they do the men in the basketball scene, just kind of like how they've been doing with the like first
It's interview style. Yeah.
style. And I took some notes on the different things that they said because the question that they're asked is like, what do you see in these like older women? And
Mm-hmm.
I, I died at the first one. He says, it's so easy to impress them. every bullshit thing you do was like throwing food to the starving. And I have to say, like, I've met these people where it's like literally like you could literally do the barely the bare minimum, and they're just like, oh my god, like, I can't believe you. And I know those people exist because I was one of them. Like, you just are
Yeah.
stunning disbelief that like somebody would like
Is into you.
yeah, well, not just into you, but like willing to put in the work, you know, like every bullshit
Yeah.
nice thing you do is like throwing food to the starving. It's like, I didn't think people actually did that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then they remind me of my mom was another one that they said.
Fuck the fuck. I mean, I know that I guess that's a common thing. Like men do the whole like, oh, I want someone like my mom. Like I guess in the sense of like my mom was so like amazing, and I'm just like still a little weird. I get it, but like I don't. So
I won't even say that I understand the psychology behind that because I don't. I just hope everybody's okay.
I think they see it in the scheme of like if they have a great mother influence of like they're a great mom, they're a great wife, like they see like the way that if they see the way a woman takes care of not only like her husband but her children, that's a quality some
So
men want
you're
in
looking at
their partner.
okay. I
That's what they're getting at.
okay.
I think.
I had I had registered it as like they remind me of my mom, like she has like curly hair like my mom did or something. You know what I mean? Like
No.
that's what I
No.
that's why I was like,
No, men multiple I've heard multiple men say that. They're like, "Oh, my mom's like amazing. Like she's such a great example of what a wife and a mother would be. I want to
okay.
find those qualities
So like
in the woman that
fertility
I want
quality.
to." Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I think that's
that's
more so. At least
that
that's what I think.
yeah, I went straight to like I want a woman. I find women who remind me of my mom and I date them. That's what I thought he was saying. That's what I was like,
That's way too Freudian.
yeah,
That is way too
okay.
Freudian
Well,
for me.
okay, we won't. But then I love what Skipper says. He says they know what they want, and I like that. They
It's
know what they
so
are,
wholesome.
they want, and I like that. I love.
Yeah, so wholesome.
I love the last guy, smart pussy. I was like,
He's 17. He's 17.
I forgot the part.
So they put like their name, their age, and what they
Yeah.
do. The last one, he's like 2 words, smart pussy, and it's like whoever 18 high school student. I was like, oh, the little fucking horn dog. I swear to God, I'm like, who invited this kid to play basketball with everyone?
He's somebody's little brother that they're babysitting.
One little brother, probably.
And then we start talking about what do women see in these younger men? These like 30-year-old women, why are they dating 20-something-year-old men?
Dude, I don't know because I'm in my later 20s and I can't even like it's the thought of dating someone like even 2 years younger than me is really hard.
I will say being on the before, during, and after of my frontal lobe developing has been like major changes. Like, I don't
Yeah.
feel as though I can completely romantically connect with somebody whose frontal lobe hadn't developed yet. Like, have now
Yeah.
been on the other side of it. So
I do feel I do feel like there is everyone's different.
yeah,
I do feel like
yeah,
there may be a 22-year-old guy out there who's just like has it going on, secure, emotionally secure, like that's just who they are, and that's amazing,
yeah,
right? So it may work for those people. I think it's a case by case basis, as
yeah,
always. For me personally, I definitely have done the associating with the younger they are, the less mature they are. That's not always the case. I've just never really like explored that. I think the youngest person I've ever like actually interacted with was like 2-3ish years younger than me. um I there was some differences there. I was like, ooh, like there I mean, even though it's 2 or 3 years of life experience, those 2 or 3 years sometimes is a lot, and you're like, oh God,
Yeah.
but I typically date men older than me, typically, but
Almost all, no,
except for
older.
now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, except for my marriage, every relationship, situation, whatever I was in before, they were always older, except for one
Yeah.
other circumstance.
Okay.
Yeah, but that wasn't even
Mm-hmm.
anything really. But yeah,
Yeah.
older. And what now that obviously I married him, like, I definitely felt more compatible with him than I did with the other guys.
Because he's not that much younger, right?
No,
It's only a
actually,
couple.
was it 3 weeks out of the year we're the same age? So
Yeah, so
like,
it's not too crazy.
no,
And I'm not over here saying, I'm also not saying like I'm like completely casting off younger guys
no,
either. It's just not, it's a territory that I've just never really fully explored. But also when I think of things like I'm still not that old, I'm 20, I'm about to be 28, so it's like, but the thought of dating someone who's 21 is that's rough. I don't think I can
yeah.
see that, but like I like maybe a hard stop at like 24. Like I don't feel like I can do anything younger,
But like,
you know.
everybody's different. Everybody,
But everyone's different, so you never know. But
it's no judgment.
it's fascinating.
It's just, we're just referencing our own personal preferences.
I also have no preferences older. There you can that number can keep going. We're Anna Nicole Smith in it, and I love her. That's not in a derogatory sense. I love that woman.
The limit does not exist in my head.
The limit does not exist. Like when I get on Hinge, it's all the way to like 99 plus. Fuck it.
You really are gonna be Anna Nicole Smith.
Why not? If I get the opportunity, why would I waste that opportunity?
10 to 12 years tops, right?
Oh God.
Oh,
anyway,
goodness.
Let's get to talking about the show.
I know, right? Okay, so what do older women see in younger men? So Carrie and Miranda are talking about it, and first of all, Miranda, our lovely pessimist, we love her. How good luck finding one. Like, there's no available men that are in their 30s that are
right,
like normal, that are worth dating anymore. And then Carrie is kind of like, do we date these younger men because they feel safer? Is it, and it kind of is like that theory where it's like, should you just be with somebody who loves you more so that you're less likely to get hurt? That's what that sounds.
You know what's weird though? So my kind of just input on that, I don't know why they would see younger men safer when younger men notoriously want to sleep around more.
Well, it's kind of like,
that's what I see. That's what I see. It's like, when they're like younger, it's like, maybe my experience, maybe it's biased or whatever, but it's like the young, you're 22 years old. You want to go see what the hell's out there. You don't want to just like bang some 32-year-old lady and that's it. Maybe cool if you do, awesome. But like in my experience, that's not the case. I don't feel like younger men are safer. I actually feel they're like a little more dangerous in that aspect.
I hear that, and now that you say it, I see it. What I interpreted from that was kind of based off of the next thing she said, where Miranda's like, it boils down to do what I tell you sex. So I feel like it kind of goes into that like whole like,
okay,
oh, you're an older woman and you're gonna tell me what
you're more experienced.
You're more experienced. You're gonna say things like, that's what
I fucking fuck that. You know what? I think that's why I don't date younger guys. I'm not in the business of telling you shit.
I get that. It's like,
I don't want to teach
about not wanting to teach empathy. You don't want to have to teach certain things. You just want to.
I don't want to teach sex. We don't have the time for it. I have a full-time job. Okay? I have a full-time job in a podcast. I am not here to teach you the ways of the world, homie. You're going to have to go figure that out and then try it on someone else.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
And then next scene we pan out or the ending of this scene is Miranda asking Carrie if she wants to like go for lunch, and Carrie's like, "Oh, I can't. I got a meeting with my editor." Coming to find out,
Bullshit.
she lied to Carrie and canceled on her editor just to go help this 20-something-year-old go pick out a shirt. You know, if
bullshit. Before, also, I forgot to mention this. You know, when Carrie asks her, "Oh, hey, where are all the good 30-something-year-old guys?" Is that what she says? Miranda says Giuliani had them removed along with the homeless, and I love that line. I always love finding what the writers just kind of slip in very like passively, and it's so goofy and just so, but like such a real probably statement for the time. Yeah. I just appreciated it. I thought it was clever.
Wasn't he the mayor at the time?
Yes.
Because they
at the time
reference him a few times in the show.
Quite a few times,
I appreciate because you can kind of like see the timeline
judge
as
like,
the show's
coming
out, what's like where it up. There's a few episodes that talk about major events in New York that we'll get
right.
Okay, so
she's helping Sam pick out a shirt.
Yes. And then she continues her little like just kissing thing, and she's just kind of like, this is just so much fun. I don't know why I would stop. Like, it's just
it's exciting. It's
but then we pan over to the next scene. Carrie's back at her apartment, and she's getting ready for her drink thing. So that's another
with Big.
Mr. Big
with Big
is to call them hanging out a date. He just refuses. He calls it everything but. So they're not going on a. She's not getting ready for their date. She's getting ready for their drink thing.
Bullshit.
Say that what you will. I don't know. But while she's getting ready for her drink thing, she gets a call from Charlotte, and Charlotte is telling her that she needs to talk to her about something. And Carrie's just like, I don't have the time to talk to you. Like, I'm already late for my date. I gotta go. But then she tells Carrie what it is on the phone, and Carrie...
And it's silence.
And we don't...
You don't hear it.
Yeah. But Carrie just like, okay, let's get a cab.
She said...
Here.
No, she said, I'm going to be at your apartment in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Yeah, she said...
She's like, I will be there in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So there's some urgency to what Charlotte just said, apparently.
Like, she calls her girlfriend and is like, I need you. And I gotta say, like, when you get those calls, like, you can
we know
best friend's voice.
Like, you can hear it in their voice.
Like, I've gotten a couple calls from you where I'm already...
We've done that vice versa. We're already in the car.
Yeah, like, my GPS is already set, like, and...
Yeah, or just doing what we need to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's already in action.
You know?
But it's not... So we learn it's not an actual emergency.
No.
We shoot to Carrie and Charlotte in the cab. And this is where we find out what Charlotte's little dilemma is. Do you want me to say this one?
Do you want to say it? Do you want me to say it?
So,
take it away.
Carrie says, I need you to tell me exactly what he told you. And I wrote this down. Hopefully I wrote it down. I write crazy notes. So Charlotte says, he said, we've been seeing each other a couple of weeks. I really like you. And tomorrow after dinner, I want us to have anal sex. This is Charlotte's massive dilemma. And this is what made Carrie spring into action and go get her. And so Carrie mentions to the cabbie, like, oh, hey, we're going down this street and this street. And Charlotte's like, what? Why? She's like, we're picking up Miranda, and then we're going to get Samantha. She goes, no, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. What the hell? She goes, sweetheart, you need all the girl power you can get right now. All the girl support you can get right now.
I love this scene. And, like,
I do too.
Anal, whether it be head, whether it be a sex toy,
whatever
it is. Sometimes you need your girls. It just boils down to that. You just need them. And I hope.
Especially if it's new for you.
Yeah.
Especially if it's new for you, or you're like, I don't, what the fuck do I
What?
I feel like
Like,
I've had that moment. I
you
have had
know?
that moment where I'm like, dude, I'm just so uncomfortable with this. I don't know how to fucking say like
Yeah.
no to this guy.
Like,
Or like,
I called,
how do
like,
I do
okay,
this?
like, what, like, you just gotta be there for your friends, you know? And, like, if you can't talk to your friends about this kind of stuff, like, come on. Like,
What kind of friend are you?
come on.
Like, let's be real. Like, we gotta talk about everything. But so we then have in the cab, we get Miranda pulls in and Miranda starts to give her opinion, and then Samantha pulls in and Samantha starts to give her opinion. So Miranda mentions
is how much do you like him? Because if you do this, there's gonna be a shift in power. So that's her big thing, is like if if you let him go up the butt, will he respect you more or less? I thought that was
right.
interesting.
It was a very Miranda approach to the scenario.
Like then anal sex could have been the thing that like messed up your reputation, especially somebody with a reputation like that,
so
which is so
crazy.
wild
Yeah, okay.
nowadays, you know.
Right, because it's like I feel like it's more normalized for sure now.
She was a wasp in the 90s, so a whole different ball game.
If she found, if that like got out or whatever, so silly.
Yeah. And then we get it's Samantha.
I would love to say Samantha's.
You go ahead.
So she said, "Sweethearts, a hole's a hole." And Charlotte goes, "I'm not a hole." She's like, "I know." And then Miranda says something. I forgot what exactly she says. And Samantha goes, "You know what? You can use a little bit of backdoor. It'd probably be good for you." And Samantha's obviously we already know Samantha's probably done this 10 times over. So yeah, and she says, "Oh, it's great," and this and that. And she ends it with, "P.S. It's fabulous." Oh, she said it's like a perfectly designed spot for like pleasure, like, oh, it was created just for this. And I'm like,
down. Physical expression the body was designed to experience.
Damn, girl. I love Samantha Jones. How do you not? Every episode is just, gosh, she just knocks it out of the park every single time. Love her.
Love. So,
and then the funniest part too is while we're going through this cab ride, the cabbie keeps like kind of like looking back at their conversation like, what the fuck are these girls talking about? And Carrie starts to light up a cigarette. He's like, "No smoking." She's like, "Sir, we're talking up the butt. A cigarette is in order." Like, it's such a clever little like episode. I do really like all the scenes that a cab's involved. It's always so like, and it's so true because you know, like you and I have never essentially really been in cabs a lot in San Antonio, but like
in Uber.
Conversations in Ubers get there. And I'm not kidding you. I have Ubered so many times. And those drivers hear my life story. If I am drunk, they hear everything. I ask for their advice. I want to hear their life story. And I do, all within a 25-minute drive.
Do you remember the time that you and I went
to
warehouse rave? And the freaking Uber driver didn't want to drop us off. He was like, "This is so sketchy. I don't know." And it just looks so
no signs.
And then we went
no signs anywhere.
Fine, but like as he dropped us off, he literally said, "I'll have fun seeing you two on the news tomorrow morning."
Yes, he was very concerned. He did not want to leave us there. We were about 22 years old. Christina and I both brought 2 flasks of straight whiskey. Straight. Oh, where are we being? We're talking up the butt here, okay? This is in order. But we had 2 straight flasks of whiskey just on deck on us. It was a BYOB. It was like a rave. It was in a random warehouse. I think it was on the east side somewhere. Completely like gutted out. It's like a rave. Like we were like 22 years old.
Something.
I don't know even how. Regardless, it was a blast.
It was. It really was.
It was a whole vibe.
Wow, yeah. The music.
I was viciously hungover the next morning, though.
I think we called each other like each other.
No, you spent the night.
Oh yeah.
You spent the night and I was vomiting so profusely. You were like, you came to take care of me. Like, that was like one of the times you like put like, you lined the floor with like bags so I wouldn't just vomit on my floor, and you like handed me like a Gatorade, and like that was like the most nurturing I had like in my entire life at that point. And it was amazing because it's that meme of like, I owe you my life.
Yeah.
That's what you were giving.
Oh.
We were fucked up.
We did.
It was straight whiskey. We finished I think we finished the whole flask.
We did each finish our own flask, and they were not small. But we did Uber there, and we did Uber home. We did not drive that night.
Yes, we did. And I threw a fit in that Uber because the guy I wanted to come home with me didn't. And I'm still...
And instead she went home with me.
Still salty. I'm still salty. Actually, I'm not. Anyway, we're talking up the butt in the cab. That's where we've been.
Yes. So, and then the cab gets hit from behind, and and they're like, what was that? And they're like, a preview.
And the three girls in unison, Carrie, Miranda, and Samantha, all go, a preview?
Yeah, right.
Oh God, poor Charlotte. And they're cracking up, and she's just mortified. She is just mortified. The fact that she's even having to say this out loud is probably killing her, you know?
It doesn't do it.
Oh God.
Okay. Next scene, we have Carrie at her drink thing. And so she shows up, she's happy as a clam. She finally gets her one-on-one time with Mr. Big, and she sits down. And lo and behold, Mr. Big brings his buddy. What was his name? Jack.
Jack.
Bitter as shit because he is going through his second divorce, and this bitch got all the money that the first bitch didn't get, according to So while he's like going on this like monologue of how much of a douche he is, he sees a woman in the bar, and he's like, I'm gonna go ask her to have dinner with us. And while he leaves and does that, Carrie's just kind of like looking at him, and like, before we get into what Carrie said, I would like to like be like, what would you do in that scenario? Like,
in that scenario?
Yeah, because like, you got to think about it. There's been build up to this moment with them. Like, they did that accidental dating for a while. They had that first like almost date but didn't pan out. And here's this,
all these missteps.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, anyways, what would you do? What would you think?
So me personally, I don't think I would have been essentially bothered. Like, I would have probably just like hung out with the both of them, especially if that was like his friend and like we were kind of dating, and it's like, oh, well, if this is one of his friends, might as well get to know his buddy, you know, and like, let's have. And then thinking about a guy going through a divorce, he may want to like talk shit about women or like want a female perspective. Who knows, right? You're having some drinks, you're fucking talking shit. You're like, fuck my ex-wife, you know, like, who knows, right? It might have been a good conversation. I personally probably would have stayed me.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I don't know, because I've never really had something where it's like the guy always bailed, or like, you know, or like it was so like to the point of like this guy's bailing. Like, if a guy's like bailed or like switched up on me like twice, I'm like, it's not gonna happen. Like, there's, you know, you can see, but I thought it was funny, like hearing Jack's like little dialogue. I was like, oh, I want to talk to this guy. I want to hear about his bullshit ass divorces. You know, I wouldn't have put my cab fare on the table and been like, next round's on me. Bye.
Yeah,
bitch.
I kind of wondered for a moment, because I never thought about this before, but now dissecting the episode, I was like, was Big trying to be a good friend the way that Carrie was trying to be a good friend? Except he took it a little further. You know what I mean?
I think that it was funny that they were both like at like both of their friends called them in a time of need, because he literally says that. He said Jack called. He called, and this is what happened. Just same thing as Charlotte. Charlotte called Carrie, being like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
So they both were going through this thing at the same time. So I thought it was really interesting. So, but then Carrie so much was like, "No, I have to go to Big," rather than just staying with her BFF, you know. And Big was like, "Hey, I know, like, we're like, hey," he probably told this guy, like, "Hey, I have this date planned, but like, maybe just tag along and like, I'll explain to her, you know, and like, she'll probably understand," right? Probably just like, you know, she would have done that with Big too. Like, "Oh, like, you know, the girls are here, blah, blah, blah. He called, like, can he meet us here?" You know, like,
yeah,
it could have gone either
or,
way.
like,
So
later or something, but
yeah.
And then, but she smiles, takes a sip from his drink, puts her money on the table, and is like, "Have a guy's night."
Yeah.
And something I will say, I feel like his tone when he's like, "Are you sure?" was kind of loaded. Did you catch that?
I don't think so.
Sometimes I might read
It
too much
didn't.
into stuff like that, honestly.
Yeah, I get that too. I mean, I think everyone digs into things differently,
Yeah.
but I didn't see it. He was just kind of like, I think it was more so like, we've been playing this ping pong, like, you're here,
Yeah.
like, are you sure? You know, like,
Okay. I can see that.
that's
But
what I thought. At least that's what I thought.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah, and she does the notorious Big line of "Abso-fucking-lutely," and then she's like, "Oh, I left my cab fare on the table, and now I have to walk 48 blocks in my heels." Well, bitch, you left your cab fare on the table.
So the line is, she walks 48 blocks in $400 shoes. I did the math. I Googled stuff.
Did you really? I love your little like statistician over there. God, you do your research.
I'm, like,
so
really
sexy.
watching these episodes, I'm like, what? You know. Anyways, so 48 blocks. I looked it up. 20 blocks is about a mile. So she did about 2.5 miles, right?
In heels.
And
oh, hold on.
Real quick.
Wait, go ahead.
$400 shoes back then are $769 roughly now. Go on.
I did my research on the other aspect. I learned, I don't have any. I will one day. I do think, like, if we get through like 2-3 seasons of the podcast here, I think I'm going to reward myself with some of these. I learned that Manolo Blahniks are so comfortable to walk in, even though they might not look it. I heard that they are super comfortable to walk in. I like went through a bunch of TikToks of people purchasing them, and one of this girl was like, "I literally have been running around like the New York airport wearing these, and like my feet feel fine." And I was like, "Hell yeah!" But you have to remember the craftsmanship of these designer shoes. Some of them are like really like catered to a foot. Some of them aren't. Like, I know like Louboutins and stuff, like red bottoms are like notoriously like, they're gonna like, your feet are gonna fucking hurt, and like they're crazy. But apparently Blahniks are like super comfy. So it may pinch your feet a little, but apparently it's decently easy to walk in them, which I would think so, right? With this bitch is running around in New York City all the time in them.
But beauty is pain, right?
Beauty is pain. I stand by that.
Let me see. So, with all this,
so she's like, "Let me take the edge off." She walks toward. She goes to find Sam.
Yeah,
her 20-something-year-old with the tongue ring.
$400 shoes, all to go see Sam, the 20-something-year-old, and she is kind of like kissing him, but then she's like, "It's not working tonight. I need something more to take off the edge." So they go back to his place to go hook up. But then we pan over to Charlotte, and we see the results of the conversation that she had with her friends, and she went on her date, and it's now the after date, and they're in her bed, and they're talking right before. And
she goes on this little lovely monologue.
I do, and I love how she says, like, "I wondered when relationships got so complicated." She's like, yearned for a time when dinner was followed by dessert and not lube.
Yeah, but Charlotte's like stammering to this guy, and she's just like, she's having to explain herself. She's like, I just don't want to do it. I really don't. I'm sorry. I don't like it. My favorite thing that she said, she was like, I don't want to be Mrs. Up the Butt. I don't want to be the up the butt girl. I love what she says here. She said, I want children and nice bedding.
And no one wants to marry the up the butt girl.
But okay, this is where I was like, maybe back then kind of thing. But I'm actually kind of curious because Miranda's little statement wasn't essentially like false. I do wonder if men lose respect for you if that happens, or if it gains respect. I do think it depends on the guy or your partner, regardless. Men, women, whatever you do.
Yeah.
When you explore things a little bit more explicit or different in the bedroom, you're being what's happening is the level of vulnerability is going up, and that's what things get like tricky. It's not so much like that it's not going to feel good, or it's not like because it's going to feel awesome, but it's like it's nerve-wracking. Things can happen. There's a lot of room for error. There's a lot of things, like it's scary.
It's always scary to put your walls down with people in ways that you haven't before. Especially
with sex.
Yeah, and especially when you've been dating just a few weeks. Because they mentioned that's the duration of this relationship so far.
I definitely don't think I don't know. When I was younger, I was like, there's no way. Like, I'm like, that's going to take a couple months. I feel like now, a couple weeks, I'm like, we can talk about it.
I just always vote with like, do what you feel good doing in the
you
moment,
have to be comfortable
in the moment. Even if you like
yeah.
lead up to being like, because I think she said like, I told him I would think about it. And this is their conversation of like what she thought about it. And she didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Let him know, and
which is perfectly fine.
And
if you are uncomfortable with any sexual act, you do not have to do it.
Don't do it. Even if you got in the bed, took your clothes off, started to do it, and decided I don't want to do it, stop. That's it.
Yeah.
The second you
don't let anyone make you feel
more, don't do it.
Yeah. Don't let anyone make you feel bad. And if they make you feel bad about it, you don't need to be having sex with that person.
Get out.
Out the door, homie.
No.
Let's go.
Don't be with that guy.
Because I would like to say if the fucking roles were reversed, they'd be singing a different song.
Yeah.
So, just saying.
Not everybody's as cool as John. Anyways.
Fuck yeah, John. Shout out to John. Shout out to John. Jon, John.
Love him.
Hell yeah.
But I love the way this guy responds because he does have his big three, which
I love
matters. He said, "Can we just fuck the regular way?" She said, "Yes, please." That was all he had to say. And it was done. Then they fucked the regular way.
What did Carrie say? She said something like it was missionary on like Egyptian cotton sheets or something. Or sweet. What did she say?
It was
down verbatim.
They made love the Charlotte way. Polite, respectful, on expensive on 300 count Egyptian cotton sheets.
Egyptian, that's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah.
A very Charlotte way of having sex. And you love it. You love it. You love her.
Do
so
what makes you feel good. Don't settle for less.
Yeah. 100%.
Just don't settle. And don't be forced to do anything you don't want to do. And then we'll end that. And on the next note, we have Samantha and John, speaking of in bed. And they had just finished having sex, and she rolls over, and John is just kind of looking at her lovingly.
He's admiring
her, because you do after you make love sometimes. And he looks at her and he says, "You have the cutest little wrinkles on your neck." I think I would evaporate.
I think we've all gotten a compliment that like made you be like, what? Because it's like, it's a lot, that your small insecurities are like, you like that? Like, what the hell? Like, serious, like the things you like actively try and hide or like diminish or like, like, and then it's brought to light. You're like, you could fucking see that. You're like, shit.
Out of all the fucking things you could have said. That was the one that came out of your mouth. I've done.
But it definitely came out. It definitely was wholesome. It was not derogatory. He
No.
was just like, you look. It's like, you look so sweet. Like, look at your little net. You know, like he was just admiring her, and she just
no.
She wasn't having
He
it.
quit 20-something-year-old guys right then and there because she realized,
like cold turkey,
at least for now. Because she realized she would always be the old one in the relationship.
Yeah.
And that is kind of a tough pill to swallow. Like,
yeah. It was sad how she never realized that before that statement, though. Before that statement, she was gung-ho on the young guy. She's like, fuck yeah. And then she heard that and she was like, oh,
well, I don't
shit.
think any of them had ever made a comment.
Mentioned something like that. Yeah.
She never, so she quits that. And we go to Carrie, and she did go home with Sam, and she's in his apartment, and she is making out with him, and she's like almost able to forget the bullshit that Big put her through. And then she starts making love with him, and she's like, okay, yeah, I don't remember all the bullshit I went through.
Yeah, and she's like, this is like, great.
Finally, I feel so good. And then she's like, when I thought it couldn't get any better, he spooned me. And this really kind of showed me, like, at this point in time, at least, she was craving intimacy. And that was, like, something she was absolutely not getting from Big. So she wanted it from Big. Yeah, she wanted it from him, but she wasn't getting it, so she went and found it from this other guy, you know? And
it happens so often. Yeah, sometimes it's like the ones you want don't want you kind of. It's always this, again, the theme of cat and mouse with them is so fucking prominent, especially at the beginning here. And not even just the beginning, but strap in, guys, because like, the more this series goes on, the more complex this gets. Like, if you feel like you're seeing your relationship, but in them, I would keep watching to see how it goes. Like, because I agree. Yeah. Or come talk to us on the side. Yeah, please. We'd love to know, because please do. We are here for. We're obviously not relationship or marriage experts. No. I would like to be at the end of this. I would like to say I can get like an honorary degree. Fuck yeah. But like, I would love like for us to be like, you know, like what are those things like talk shows or like call-in shows, you know, like Raw Time, like from like back in the 90s. Like, I want that. Basically like Carrie, a sexual anthropologist. Yeah, that'd be fun. So yeah, if you have any questions, you know, shoot a DM if you're brave enough for a comment. Whatever you want to talk about, whatever. Especially if it's this episode, if it's questions about anal. We're wide open. It was right there. Give it to me. Yeah, whatever you want. And anyway, whatever we don't know the answer to, we will look. We'll redirect you to the correct people. Point you to the right people who know these answers. Like, we're not trying to pass off false information. But back to the episode. So he spoons her. Everything is perfect, and all of these like scenes and snippets that they're showing of them like making love. You see the apartment that they're in. It looks like very dark, very mysterious. Like most of it's very like in the shadows, candles. But like the stuff that is kind of poking out, it's kind of like messy, but also kind of exotic looking. Like you don't really. Yeah, you know, it looks very sexy. Yeah. Like it has definitely a drunk gaze. Yeah. That apartment currently has beer goggles. And then she wakes up. And into a 20-something-year-old apartment. 20-something full of men. In Manhattan. So pull up, get ready. The beer goggles are gone. And she's hit with the fact that she just slept with a man-child. Like, it's all around her. She like walks down this crooked ladder down the like sleeping loft that was his bedroom, and is like, I need coffee, you coffee, me bathroom. She's like, just don't even fucking talk to me. Give me coffee. I'm about to leave. So she goes to the bathroom, and on the way, like he's like,
because she like runs into
She
his roommate
screams.
by accident and does that like Carrie scream. Gosh. And then
Ugh.
they like pan to the restroom. So like I paused while she was in the restroom because I never noticed all the graffiti. So I
Yeah.
like took a couple of notes on that because I was like, holy shit, like some of this is actually kind of interesting.
I literally put the bathroom is cool.
The bathroom
that was my one
covered
note.
in graffiti and covered in like it's just gross looking. It looks like a downtown bar restroom.
Just about to say, if you have ever been to fucking High Tones on the St. Mary's Strip in San Antonio, that is exactly what that bathroom looks like.
And
exactly.
It's very good. But
it's cool.
So some of the like little bits of like graffiti, I'm in a bad, severe sexual trauma. That's what one of them said. Proud to the people, thought that was cool. Free marijuana, because this was before any kind of legalization with cannabis.
Yeah.
There's a giant woman who is a mermaid, and she has a tattoo, and it says "Eat, fuck, killed, and be killed." No, I'm sorry. It says "a man's ruin." That's what that one says.
Whoa.
It says "a man's ruin" as the mermaid.
Yo, I need to go back and look. I didn't pause. I was just like, how cool.
And like while she's like going through the restroom, he's like talking about this dream that he had where she's like a unicorn woman, and it doesn't make sense, and it's really like just like
dude, like, in that moment I got so fucking annoyed. I was like, shut the fuck up. Like, not that I don't want to hear about your dream, but it was so weird. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. Like, if it was interesting, maybe.
Can I ask you a question, dude? Like, have you ever been on a date with a dude and you just like in your head you're like, please stop talking. Like, you just like don't want to hear their like, I need to go to my car and leave.
Maybe not so much like a date, but like men at bars.
Yeah, or like,
for sure.
Yeah, where it's like you're just looking at them, like just hearing what
you're like, thanks for the drink, but like, I'm like, what? This is not stimulating conversation.
No. But yeah. Anyways, I thought that whole graffiti was so cool, and
it was really cool.
Come to find out, there's no toilet paper when she's done peeing because he's using the last of their toilet paper as a coffee filter. Girl, get out.
Get out.
And moving from one addiction to another, so she kind of realizes like
I like that
she's
part.
like out and about in the streets now. She's doing like her walk home, and she's like, okay, like let me go get some shoes, like because that's her thing that makes her feel better. And she's kind of like walking with her new pair of shoes, and she has this interesting take where she's like, I have entered a new chapter of my life where I have outgrown the boys of my past, but not quite grown into the men of my future. I thought that was such a cool statement.
Dude, I fuck with that heavy right now.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, because we're in that age range right now where we are like graduating from our 20s to our 30s. So we are shift.
Not just so much that too, just me personally, like everything I've gone through in the past couple of years, I like very much was like, I very much, this is the first time in my life I'm putting an active effort into not just tolerating things because someone's there, to being like, no, what do I want? And that's where I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
And if I'm not wanted there, I will gladly leave.
I've been so
and like,
dude, you've been doing so good. Like, it's so
I'm trying.
Like, have you ever heard that quote where it's like, sex is cool and all, but watching your friend like leave a toxic relationship is so much better.
Yeah.
Not that it's a toxic relationship, but like seeing your friend like do better for herself.
Just do better, so and just
like
you want your friends to be happy and to be as happy as they possibly can be, and you want your friends to have the best possible partner if they choose to be in a relationship or a marriage, you want them to have the best possible person for them and to make them happy and to make them feel good. And as a friend, that's like the biggest thing you can want for them is their happiness outside of a relationship, but also if they are in one, you know, that too. And like, and when you see that or
not first.
huh?
I like that you said that it's that too, not that first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you need to be good with yourself before you can be good with somebody else, or else it's not gonna work.
Thank you, therapy.
Yeah. And I just kind of wanted to throw that question to our audience too. Like, do you feel like you resonate with the line of like you've outgrown the people of your past, but not quite grown into the people of your future? Like, and like, what age did you feel that at? And this is like for
good question
too. It's like, because you know, obviously people mature at different rates, but like, at what age did you feel that shift? You know,
or did that ever happen for you? You know, was that a profound kind of like thing that you had, or did you just like kind of get into relationships and be like, oh, this works for me? You know, like everyone's different, so
it's so interesting.
You never know.
But anyway,
yeah, we'd love to. We always love hearing the feedback and you know any kind of like, oh, that does happen. I do relate, or I don't relate. Like, but I do feel this. Like, say it,
please.
Say it. We want it.
We want it. So Carrie runs into Jack, who was Mr. Big's like surprise guest. And yeah, no, basically she runs into him. She's like, well, dang, I wanted to see Big, but then Big pops out. And
they're on an outside patio, like
as Carrie's like walking by. Thank you. Yeah.
Walking down the streets. Yeah.
And
setting that up.
Yeah, she kind of like does this thing where Mr. Big is like, well, come on, like, let's go. And she's like, no, I'm okay. She starts to walk off, and she points out, though, before she leaves on his crossword puzzle, that's Hinge. Like, she does one for him.
He's like, what?
Yeah, she's like number whatever on your crossword puzzle.
A 4-letter word to bring things together.
Yeah.
She's like, or 5-letter word, sorry.
And
I thought that was really clever. That was very clever writing. That was very clever writing to have that as the word and to kind of mention that, you know.
And then he like chases her down the street a little bit and tries to ask her out again. And I feel like she is the most upfront that she is in the entire series with him, other than when she's like screaming at him.
I think so too.
You know? But this is the most like direct thing that I feel like she ever says to him, and she's like, I'm good at crossword puzzles, but I'm just not so good at people puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good line.
Yeah, basically like you're being a fucking puzzle right now and I don't know how to read you or play with you. I really don't.
And so he asks her out again, but I don't know if you noticed this, he still never called it a date.
Oh, of course he didn't. Oh. Of course he did.
He did not. And then she just kind of walks away on this high of like.
As she walks away, she says a commentary though. She says something like, maybe all men are a drug. And it would have, you know, she's, I forgot exactly verbatim, but she's, oh yeah, maybe all men are a drug. Some make you feel really low. And she's like, in moments like this, like, make you feel really high or really up, you know? And I was like, I thought that was an interesting statement. It reminded me of the song Your Love Is My Drug by Kesha in that moment. And I was like, oh, we love Kesha. But for some reason, that was a song that like popped through my head. And she just keeps walking, but then she does look back at Big. And then in her little monologue, her commentary, she's like, damn, it would have been so cool if I didn't look back. You know, if you just kept walking, no, you know, no acknowledgement of what just happened, just like, but she did. So, which is, I think, kind of foreshadowingly like reminiscent of their entire kind of relationship, you know? So, but that's how we end it. Yeah, that's how we end this episode. That's it.
Episode. That is the case of the Valley of the 20-something guys.
Guys, and this was a fun episode too. It's definitely not as like plot intensive, but the topics that we deal with a lot are, you know, these are it's a very interesting. Like as the series goes on, you know, we find topics that are more explicit or more, you know, out there, and it's like we have to remember this show's about sex at the end of the day, sex and relationships, and so we'll get things at every which angle. So but I think this one's really fun. This is kind of our first huh?
Is that on the side, on top?
Yeah. This I think is our first episode though where we're truly introduced in something a little bit more taboo. And I was really excited for this one because I'm like, oh, we even talked about that during the reunion. I'm like, hey, guess what, guys? The next one's about anal. So tune in.
I know, it's like, get ready for some discussion of pegging.
For sure. And so, and like, it's fun. I mean, we can talk about it. Obviously, this is part of it. So, very fun episode. So thanks again. This one's a little bit longer, but we had a bunch of stuff to talk about. So, but if you did make it to the end again, every time, you know, every time at the end of our episodes, thank you so much. If you do listen to the whole thing, if you don't, regardless, we love that you're listening and watching and doing whatever you can to support and listen. It's great, you know, because I'll have people message me and they heard like one clip and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you guys said that, or how funny, you know, and it's like any little thing helps, and it's great hearing that. And so, but again, if you listen to the whole thing or watch the whole thing, thank you so much for getting towards the end. Any questions we asked, again, we would love for you guys to comment, and I know whatever you want to do or DM, like we love it. So yeah, so thanks again. We love you guys so much. Anything you want to add towards the end of this one?
I think the takeaway from this episode is just do what you want and fuck the rest.
Hell yeah, that's my favorite quote of all time.
Exactly.
You do what you love and fuck the rest. That is from Little Miss Sunshine. That is my favorite movie of all time. So thanks for ending it with that. That's absolutely I agree. So
Okay.
but we love you guys. Thank you so much. We're going to be back next week, next Tuesday, with season 1, episode 5. I can't believe we are already 4 episodes in. That's been a month.
1 month.
So it has flown by.
Yeah.
It has really flown by. It's been really fun. So I'm really happy we're a month in. We're still going. We're going strong as much as we can. So thank you for the support. We're going to keep going. So season 1 has 12 episodes to it. So we're getting close to halfway through the first season already. It's going by super fast. So we hope you guys stick around and keep on listening. So yeah, there we are. So thank you guys so much. We will see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.